know this is the most freest thing that a man can ever be in, right? Amen. Again, says the Christian. So, I asked God about this. I said, what's up, God? Tell me something. And so, God said, you see, you were so quick to put all the burden and all the blame on the unbeliever or non-Christian, but you never thought about what you were doing as a Christian or what your brothers and sisters are doing as Christians to paint this picture that Christianity is an institution. So, this is what we kind of came up with. So, have you ever, let me ask you a question, have you ever been in a situation when you were trying to prove a point to somebody and you got all your arguments together and it's good too, but you get so caught up in all the emotion that somewhere down the line you forget what your point was, or B, by the end of you making your point, the person that you was talking to missed the point. Sometimes also in our Christian lives, we get so wound up doing all these religious things, religious rituals. So I go to church, I go to prayer meetings, I pay my tithes, I do this and I do that, but we so miss the point. For God never called you to be in a religion. That's the institution that nobody wants to enter because you're promoting it like an institution. God called you to be in a relationship with Him. I don't care if you've been living, calling yourself a Christian for 40 years. If you've been living religion, you still got one foot at the door of heaven and one foot in the door of hell. So please don't allow your age, just because you've been calling yourself a Christian for 40 years, stop you from reevaluating whether you've been living in a religion or whether you've been living in a relationship with God. They're totally different. So let's get some things straight. So, what is this religious mindset? What does it look like? Because I'm not going to be talking about circumcision and all these different things per se, but I'm going to expose the religious mindset. So, here we are. Religious, back in the day, they used to sacrifice animals and they used to do all the circumcision. And so this religious mindset said that if I did these certain things, if I circumcised myself, if I, slaughtered some animals and put it on an altar, then therefore, I'm okay with God. So if I do these certain things, then therefore me and God is cool now. But then you see, that's logical thinking. But we all know that the relationship with God is past our understanding. This is not a rational relationship with God. Ain't nothing rational. So if your Christianity makes sense, I stop by to tell you that that's not Christianity. I don't know what it is, but it's not Christianity. Because your Christianity is supposed to be irrational. It's above our thinking. That's why God has called us to have faith in the first place. Because of the fact that it's irrational when we're living in a relationship with Him. And so, let's take love. The religious mindset says that if I do these certain things, then therefore I love God. But a person in a relationship with God says that I love God so much that I'm going to go ahead and do these things. Because you see, when we start to develop that relationship with God, then there is no limits upon what we might do for Him. Because when you start to live in religion and start to do things religiously, thinking that if I do these certain things and therefore I'm okay with God, then at some point you're going to stop doing some things. But if you truly love God, there is no limit to how far you may go with Him. It does not stop. It does not get stagnant. There is no such thing as complacency. And so God shows us in certain verses, such as John 3:16. What does it say? For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. Right? But notice that it said, for God so loved the world, the love came first. Then He said, because He loved you, that's why He gave up His baby boy. It wasn't that He gave His baby boy and therefore He loved you. It was that He loved you and therefore He gave up His baby boy. The same way God wants you to be. He wants you to love Him and then let everything else flow. Because if you love Him, you don't have to worry about doing certain things. If you love Him, you would read His Bible. If you love Him, you would go ahead and get baptized. If you love Him, you would come on in on Sunday morning and not just show up be okay with that. But that's not how God works. Also in Ephesians 1:4, it says, long before he laid down earth's foundations, he had us in mind, had settled on us as the focus of his love. God created the world just for us because he loved us. Not he created the world and so therefore he loved you. But he created the world because he already had love for you. And so, but yet some of us constantly treat God like a bad husband treats his wife. A bad husband does all these things to his wife. Comes back home with all these nice gifts and flowers and all this other stuff. And because knowing that his wife is mad, and he said, no, here's a gift, go buy you something. Until one point, the husband come home, gives her the money or the gifts or whatnot, and she takes it and throws it back at him and says, I don't want that.